Hi everybody, Andrew Cherin, attorney at law here. I'm a Seattle personal injury lawyer representing people injured in car accidents, and today I'm excited to bring to you another edition of my video blog. Today's topic is lost wages. In a typical personal injury car accident case, there's going to be compensation for medical bills, pain and suffering, and then lost wages. So how do you determine what your lost wages are? Well, you're entitled to compensation for lost wages. If you're paid hourly, we can kind of prove lost wages by looking at your pay stubs and calculating missed days of work, what your hourly pay is, and how many hours you missed. Those are pretty easy ways to do it. If you're paid salary, a good way to kind of figure out what your lost wages are is to um, look at the sick leave or vacation pay that you've had to use for missed work from injuries due to the car accident that you were in. So we can kind of figure out that information by looking at the pay stubs as well on there and figuring out the lost wages based on days missed work from sick or vacation pay used if you use that way. Some people decide not to use that. They want to rather just miss days work, but usually to get paid for the days you missed work, you're going to have to use sick or vacation pay for that reason alone. Now, if you are someone who works their own job, who owns their own business, it's a little bit more difficult to determine what your lost wages are. In those cases, it could be that we could look at like your month-to-month income from your sales and stuff like that, how they've gone up or down. We can also look at jobs that you've decided not to take because you're so injured that you felt like you're prevented from doing those things. Those things can be documented based on like email correspondence between you and the possible employer for whatever contract you were going to do for them, if it was a service, or any sales of goods if you had to like create it, but you couldn't create those goods because you have to manually do that in some way. Those can all kind of be proven as long as there's something that kind of shows what you've missed out on. Now, if you don't really know what you missed out on, that could be a little bit more difficult, especially with new businesses. Businesses that have only been around for like a year or so, they're probably not going to have the track record to really show what you are currently making and what you probably missed out on. But we can try to make the argument that based on the month before and the month that you missed, you should have had similar sales or similar revenue to that month as well. If you're kind of becoming more and more established, if you're an established business, then we can look at year to year on those same months and kind of compare what you missed on that. If for some reason it's lower than the year before, as far as sales or service jobs that you provided to get revenue. There's a lot of options you have, but lost wages is a big part of a lot of people's claims. Unfortunately, lost wages could also be the difference between someone that has similar injuries as you but makes a lot more than you, and so their case could be different because they make more money. So someone that makes, they miss 2 days of work but they get paid $1,000 each day, they have $2,000 in lost wages, versus if you make $100 each day, you have $200 in lost wages. So the same, if everything else being equal, those two cases are going to be different because there's a gap there of about $1,800. So that's why you may see fluctuations between similar cases, and you're wondering like why you're not getting what someone that was in the same car accident basically and had the same treatment, but you're getting a little bit less money than they are. It could be the lost wages that's the difference in those cases. And lost wages are very valuable to document. So getting compensated for your lost wages is huge, because if you've missed a lot of work, if you missed a couple months of work from, like, say for instance you use Family Medical Leave Act, where you get documentation from the state, and the state compensates your employer for Family Medical Leave Act. You could miss like a month of work or a couple weeks of work depending on if you get that documented from your doctor. That's another thing too, is you want to make sure everything's documented. So to not only prove your lost wages, you may also need like a doctor's notes that said that you were excused from work for a week or more. Especially if you missed more than a week of work, it's a little bit more difficult to prove to the insurance company, for the defendant, that this was reasonable that you missed that amount of work. Family Medical Leave Act provides the documentation that you need actually to get those multiple week absences. But if you don't have that documentation from a doctor who's signing off on, like for instance, FMLA, it's a little bit more difficult to prove that the time you took off was actually reasonable due to the car accident. All car accidents are different, and not everybody's the same, obviously, but there's going to be things that are kind of looked at, especially if it kind of seems odd that you're taking off a lot of time. But we can work around that, and you can always try to get the most out of your case by submitting those type of claims as well. But it's better to have those things documented by a medical doctor. Anyways, I hope you guys have found this video helpful, and if you want to learn more information, go to my website, www.lawcherin.com, and I give free consultations if you were in a car accident and injured. My number is 206-850-6716.